Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we are discussing the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust 41. This is, of course, the reference 126334. It is a combination of white gold and stainless steel, and as you can see, it is a better proportioned than the 2009 to 2015 Datejust 2. Getting a sense of the watch on the wrist, you'll take a look in profile and you can see that it's thin, 11.7 millimeters thick, and it's short across the wrist at 47.5 millimeters with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. But don't take my word for it. Let's throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. And the thin profile at 11.7 really makes it easy to wear this watch underneath a cuff. Because this version of the Jubilee bracelet features pivoted end links, it's a lot shorter across the wrist than the old Datejust 2, which was both solid end link and never offered with the Jubilee. It was only available with the Oyster. So this timepiece is a lot finer, more graceful, better proportioned, both of case, bezel, dial, and bracelet. Easy to wear. I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference. Now, taking a quick look at the bracelet, I did mention it's a Jubilee and that the end links now are pivoted, so the bracelet no longer projects beyond the case, and compared to the Datejust 2, that's a real boon for smaller wrists. The bracelet with all solid links is now as solid as a sports bracelet should be. I used to say that the Jubilee was graceful and supple, but the Oyster had structural integrity. Well, this has structural integrity. As you can see from the bottom, it's also better at venting your wrist than the Oyster, so I recommend this handsome dress-style bracelet for sporting use. As you can see, individual links are fixed by screws and removable, and that on both sides of the clasp. Straight through polish, polished flanks, satin shoulders, and then you've got a lift lock system with a beak and a hook, and you can actually see it lock like that, so you can't just pry it open by pulling it. You do have to lift and unlatch it. There's a degree of security added. Internally, you can see the clasp is finished and polished. This is a flagship piece for Rolex. And then there is the 5mm Easy Link tool-free adjustment system. Pull it in, pull it out, 5mm in or out. You have the option to do some sizing without a tool. And then if you look inside the clasp, you can see that there are tracks leading down into 3 divots. So with your strap tool, you can change the anchoring point of the bracelet in the clasp. Bracelet and case are made of 904L steel. Rolex makes its own clasps, bracelets, and cases. It has its own foundry, and it makes its own alloys. 904L is the same hardness as 316, but it is far more corrosion resistant. For example, you need not rinse it after salt exposure. The bezel is made of what is called gray gold in the industry. Rolex uses gray gold. It's an 18-karat white gold alloy that's white all the way through, so it never needs to be plated with white rhodium. And as you can see, the Datejust 41 never succumbed to the super case condition, which means the lugs are still nicely tapered. The case band is still fluid in its form with compound curvature and graceful from any angle. You've got a screw-down crown, Twinlock, 100 meters of water resistance, and then you've got a blue Sunburst dial, and this variant of the watch is lumed, making it a better sports watch. As you can see, it's a Sunburst style, this one having been made since 2018, and you know that because it has the little crown between Swiss and made at 6 o'clock on the dial. White gold hands, Rolex crown, and indices, those are there to present beautifully over time. They present beautifully, and they curb oxidation, tarnishing, and discoloration that can overcome steel and plated steel indices. So full white gold inside the dial for the sake of longevity and beauty, as well as immunity to moisture. Solid case back underneath that Rolex manufacturer caliber 3235. It's the same movement that's in the Sea Dwellers and the Submariner. 70-hour power reserve, bidirectional automatic winding. A big change for the 3235 compared to its predecessor. We now have a rotor bearing instead of a jeweled staff for the winding system, and that makes it much more shock tolerant. It is bidirectional winder. It beats away at 28,800 vibrations per hour, pivots on 31 jewels. There is hacking or stop seconds. There is a quick set for the date. The watch is certified as a chronometer, and then everything is cased up. The watch is assembled, and it's tested in 6 positions to run no worse than plus or minus 2 seconds per day, which is far in excess of the chronometer specifications. Remember, chronometer is -4 plus 6 seconds per 24 hours. This is -2 plus 2 or better, hence the terminology superlative chronometer on the dial. The watch of course, also includes a full balance bridge with a free-sprung index for shock tolerance, a niobium zirconium blue oxidized anti-magnetic hairspring that Rolex calls Parachrom Blue for anti-magnetism. It uses Rolex's own Paraflex shock absorbers, finally doing away with the long-running KIF for an in-house solution, and the watch uses an overcoil hairspring with a brigade profile made by hand to allow it to keep good time in any orientation via concentric breathing of the hairspring. All in all, this watch is stacked. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. Rolex Datejust 41 by night, Chromolite Blue Lume, Rolex's own Lume mix.